point that fucking gun at my dad!
6 men, 1 heist, 0 trust. Reservoir Dogs wasn't just a crime film. It was a powder keg waiting to blow. Behind the black suits and cool sunglasses, there were fist fights on set, actors glued to the floor, illegal shoots in real traffic, and a warehouse that used to be a mortuary. This wasn't Hollywood polish. It was chaos, sweat, blood, and the kind of mistakes that could have killed the movie. But instead, they made it legendary. Here are 20 behind-the-scenes disasters that prove Reservoir Dogs should never have worked, and yet somehow, it changed cinema forever. Fact 1. Tarantino almost bankrolled the film himself. In 1991, Quentin Tarantino wasn't Hollywood royalty. He was a struggling video store clerk with a killer script and almost no backing. His plan? To make Reservoir Dogs on his own for just $30,000. That meant a tiny cast of friends, shot on 16mm, with Tarantino himself playing Mr. Pink. No glamour, no Keitel, no theatrical release. Just another underground VHS curiosity. But producer Lawrence Bender saw potential and begged him to hold off. Bender even set a strict deadline, one last chance to shop the script around before Tarantino maxed out his own life savings. That pause changed everything. The script landed in Harvey Keitel's hands, who not only agreed to star, but also secure funding. Without that delay, Reservoir Dogs would have been a $30K home movie, lost in the indie shuffle, and Quentin Tarantino might never have become Quentin Tarantino. Fact 2. Harvey Keitel didn't just star, he saved the movie. When Harvey Keitel first read the Reservoir Dogs script, he didn't just see a good role, he saw a project worth saving. Tarantino and Bender had only a vision and a near-impossible budget. Keitel changed that. By joining as executive producer, he lent instant credibility and used his reputation to raise serious money. The production budget ballooned from a fantasy $30,000 to over $1.2 million, transforming what was almost a backyard indie into a real theatrical release. Keitel also gave the project legitimacy in Hollywood, attracting stronger cast members who might otherwise have passed on a rookie director's violent debut. In many ways, Keitel's decision wasn't just about acting. It was about believing in Tarantino before anyone else did. Without him, Reservoir Dogs might have remained just another unmade script floating through the Hollywood wilderness. Fact 3. A $1.6 million offer came with a ridiculous catch. Sometimes more money means more problems. A producer once dangled a $1.6 million budget for Reservoir Dogs, far beyond what Tarantino had dreamed of. But there was a condition. The film had to end with all the characters alive. The bloody shootout revealed as a hoax. It would have turned the brutal crime thriller into a cheap twist ending, undermining everything Tarantino had written. Another investor offered $500,000 if his girlfriend could play Mr. Blonde, one of the most sadistic roles in the script. Both offers were refused, even though Tarantino desperately needed cash. His stubbornness preserved the movie's raw edge. Had he caved, Reservoir Dogs might have been remembered as a gimmicky flop instead of a groundbreaking crime classic. Proof that sometimes the smartest move in Hollywood is saying no to money. Fact 4. The warehouse was a real mortuary. That claustrophobic warehouse where most of Reservoir Dogs unfolds wasn't a Hollywood soundstage. It was a real abandoned mortuary, complete with leftover embalming supplies and a faint, unsettling stench. The creepy atmosphere seeped into the performances, giving the film's dialogue-heavy scenes an extra layer of discomfort. The cast and crew worked in sweltering heat under harsh lights, surrounded by echoes of real death. Tarantino couldn't afford to build elaborate sets, so he turned the macabre location into a character of its own. That gritty authenticity became part of the movie's DNA. Instead of polished studio gloss, Reservoir Dogs had the grime of reality baked in. The mortuary wasn't just a backdrop, it was a silent reminder that the story unfolding on screen was about bodies, betrayal, and death. Few indie films have ever turned a location into such an eerie advantage. Fact 5. From $30,000, dream, to $1.2 million. Reality. Tarantino's original dream was modest. Scrape together about $30,000, shoot Reservoir Dogs on weekends, and hope for a small VHS release. It would have been a passion project made with borrowed cameras, unpaid actors, and friends doubling as crew. But once Harvey Keitel joined, everything changed. Suddenly, the budget soared to roughly $1.2 million. Still tiny by Hollywood standards, but massive compared to Tarantino's original plan. That boost allowed for better cameras, professional crews, and enough shooting days to bring Tarantino's dialogue-heavy script to life. The film still cut corners. Actors brought their own wardrobe, and locations were bare bones, but now it had enough polish to attract serious attention. That leap in budget was the difference between a forgotten indie curiosity and a career-launching phenomenon that announced Tarantino to the world. Fact 6. Lawrence Tierney nearly attacked Tarantino. On set, not all the chaos stayed on screen. During filming, veteran actor Lawrence Tierney, cast as crime boss Joe Cabot, clashed with Quentin Tarantino almost immediately. Tierney struggled to memorize Tarantino's dense dialogue and grew frustrated with the young director's persistence. At one point, the tension boiled over so badly that Tierney nearly took a swing at Tarantino himself. The crew froze, and it took Harvey Keitel and Michael Madsen to physically calm things down before it turned into a real fight. The incident cemented Tierney's reputation as difficult, but it also showed how fragile the set could be. Behind every cool, slow-motion walk, there were egos colliding. The shoot was already tense, and moments like this proved Reservoir Dogs wasn't just about fictional gangsters turning on each other. It was happening in real life too. Fact 7. Actors brought their own costumes and cars. Even with Keitel's help, Reservoir Dogs was still shot on a shoestring budget. Cost saving became a daily necessity. Most of the wardrobe you see, it came from the actors' closets. Steve Buscemi wore his own black jeans, Chris Penn wore his personal track jacket, and that slick black Cadillac DeVille Michael Madsen drives as Mr. Blonde? That wasn't a studio car. It was Madsen's real 1965 ride. The DIY approach gave the film a grounded authenticity, but it was also about survival. Every dollar saved on wardrobe meant more money for film stock or extra takes. This wasn't Hollywood luxury, it was guerrilla filmmaking. The irony? The minimalist black suits and ties have since become iconic, endlessly copied in fashion, advertising, and even Halloween costumes. What was once a budget hack became one of cinema's most recognizable looks. Fact 8. Tim Roth got glued to the floor. With Fake Blood, Tim Roth's performance as the bleeding, dying Mr. Orange is unforgettable, and part of that realism came from sheer discomfort. For hours of filming, Roth had to lie in pools of fake blood under blazing warehouse lights. The heat caused the syrupy mixture to dry and harden, literally gluing him to the floor. Between takes, crew members had to peel him up like duct tape ripping off skin, leaving Roth exhausted and uncomfortable. It added a visceral authenticity to his portrayal of pain and shock, but it wasn't acting alone. It was physical endurance. Roth later admitted that the ordeal was grueling, but watching the final product, the sticky suffering added a raw intensity. Sometimes the best performances don't come from method acting. They come from the cruel physics of dried corn syrup and hot lights trapping you in place. Fact 9. Mr. Pink's escape was shot in real traffic. Tarantino wanted realism, but didn't have permits or money for controlled streets. So when Steve Buscemi's Mr. Pink flees the warehouse, the chase was filmed guerrilla style in real traffic. Buscemi sprinted across live streets while cameras captured the chaos from hidden setups. No traffic control, no extras, just real drivers, some of whom had no idea they were part of a movie. The risk was enormous. One wrong step, and Buscemi could have been hit. To stretch the scene, Tarantino even reused the same storefront twice, tricking audiences into thinking the chase was longer than it was. The sequence is pure indie filmmaking, dangerous, scrappy, and unforgettable. Today, studios would never allow it. But in 1992, desperation forced creativity, and that raw, lawless energy bled into every frame of Reservoir Dogs. Fact 10. A real criminal played Mr. Blue. Most of the cast were professional actors, but one had lived the criminal life for real. Edward Bunker, who played the elusive Mr. Blue, wasn't just an actor. He was a former bank robber, drug dealer, and prison inmate. Before turning to writing and acting, Bunker had spent significant time behind bars, even being the youngest prisoner ever in San Quentin at one point. His life as a career criminal gave him insights that Tarantino couldn't script. On set, his presence added an unsettling authenticity. One of the gangsters wasn't pretending. Bunker later became a novelist, writing acclaimed crime fiction inspired by his own life. But in Reservoir Dogs, he served as a living reminder that the world Tarantino created wasn't entirely fantasy. The line between performance and reality blurred, giving the film an edge most crime dramas could never touch. Fact 11. Mr. Blonde's dance was completely improvised. One of the most infamous moments in Reservoir Dogs is Mr. Blonde torturing a cop while casually dancing to Steeler's Wheel's Stuck in the Middle with You. But here's the kicker. The script didn't choreograph the scene. It just said, Mr. Blonde manically dances around. Michael Madsen showed up, heard the song for the first time, and winged it. That off-the-cuff performance, unsettling in its casual cruelty, became iconic. The lack of rehearsal gave the moment a spontaneous eeriness that no choreography could match. It wasn't Hollywood polish, it was raw menace, captured in a single take. The dance now lives as one of cinema's great villain moments, quoted, parodied, and referenced endlessly. Ironically, the most memorable part of the movie was never planned at all. It was pure improvisation, born out of instinct and creepiness. Fact 12. A mistimed blood pack stayed in the movie. During the climactic Mexican standoff, actor Chris Penn had a blood squib rigged to burst at the perfect moment. But things went wrong. The pack detonated too early, splattering him before the scripted gunfire erupted. Normally, such a mistake would demand a reset, but Tarantino couldn't afford one. Money was tight, time was short, and reshooting would waste both. So he kept it. The premature burst made the scene look even more chaotic and unpredictable. Audiences never questioned it. In fact, the mistake added to the authenticity, as if violence really does erupt without warning. This is indie filmmaking at its core, turning accidents into art. The blood may have popped too soon, but in the gritty world of Reservoir Dogs, it only made everything feel more brutally real. Fact 13. A hidden soap bottle code. Nobody noticed. Tarantino loves layering subtle clues into his movies, and Reservoir Dogs hides one almost nobody caught. In a scene where soap bottles are lined up, their colors and placement hint at the characters' fates. Two bottles suggest Mr. White and Mr. Pink's survival, while another rag symbolizes the wounded Mr. Orange. It's a blink-and-you-miss-it detail, a visual code baked into the background. Most audiences never noticed, but hardcore fans later dissected it frame by frame. For a movie often praised for dialogue, Tarantino was quietly experimenting with visual storytelling too. It's one of those obsessive touches that shows his mind was always working 2 steps ahead. Reservoir Dogs wasn't just about what characters said, it was also about what props, colors, and mise-en-scène quietly revealed. Fact 14. The ear-cutting scene nearly got the film banned. The most infamous scene in Reservoir Dogs almost derailed its release entirely. When Mr. Blonde slices off a cop's ear, the violence was so shocking that Britain's censorship board considered banning the film for anyone under 18. Producer Harvey Weinstein pushed Tarantino to cut it down, arguing it would kill box office potential. But Tarantino refused. He believed the horror came from implication. Audiences imagined worse than what was shown. The British Board of Film Classification nearly blocked it before finally allowing the R18 release. The controversy only fueled curiosity, making the film more notorious. In the end, the threat of censorship became free publicity. That gruesome little dance between art and outrage helped turn Reservoir Dogs from an indie debut into a global talking point, cementing its reputation as dangerously uncompromising cinema. Fact 15. Mr. Blonde was supposed to be Vincent Vega's brother. Tarantino has always loved connecting his characters across films, and Reservoir Dogs planted one of his earliest Easter eggs. Mr. Blonde's real name is Vic Vega. In Pulp Fiction, John Travolta plays Vincent Vega. Tarantino later revealed they were meant to be brothers, maybe even twins. He even toyed with a spin-off movie called The Vega Brothers that would unite both characters in a prequel. Scheduling and aging actors killed the project, but the connection launched years of fan theories and online debates. It also marked the beginning of Tarantino's shared universe, a meta detail that threads through nearly all his movies. What started as a throwaway surname became the foundation of cinematic lore, proving even tiny choices in Reservoir Dogs echo far beyond the warehouse. Fact 16. The soundtrack deal changed Hollywood music. Reservoir Dogs didn't just innovate dialogue and violence, it revolutionized how music was used in film. Music supervisor Karen Rachtman fought tooth and nail to secure the rights to Steelers Wheel's Stuck in the Middle with You, the now iconic torture track. At the time, it was nearly impossible for indie productions to afford famous songs, but Rachtman pulled it off, setting a precedent for how carefully chosen pop tracks could transform small films. The result was a soundtrack deal that paid for itself many times over, inspiring future directors to treat song choices like characters themselves. Without that breakthrough, Reservoir Dogs wouldn't just lack its most infamous moment, it might never have sparked the soundtrack-driven filmmaking wave that dominated the 1990s. Fact 17. Reservoir Dogs founded a production company. The success of Reservoir Dogs did more than launch Tarantino's career, it birthed a company. In 1991, Tarantino, Lawrence Bender, and Michael Bodnarchuk formed A Band Apart, a production company named after Jean-Luc Godard's film Bande à part. Its logo? A stylized version of the black-suited robbers walking in slow motion. The company later produced Tarantino's biggest hits, from Pulp Fiction to Kill Bill. Even its corporate entities carried the joke. LLCs named after Mr. Pink and Mr. Brown kept the Reservoir Dogs' DNA alive in paperwork. This wasn't just branding, it was myth-making. A scrappy indie film about criminals gave rise to an actual empire, proving that Tarantino's vision wasn't just cinematic. It was entrepreneurial chaos turned into legacy. Fact 18. Reservoir Dogs inspired bands and remakes. Reservoir Dogs' legacy isn't just Hollywood prestige, it's global chaos. The film was so violent that its video game adaptation was banned outright in Australia and New Zealand. Meanwhile, Bollywood remade the story in 2002 as Quentin, complete with musical numbers and Tarantino's blessing. The director even called it his favorite remake. Elsewhere, homages, spoofs, and references popped up across television, advertising, and even theater productions. The film's blend of indie grit and pop culture cool proved endlessly adaptable. What began as a near-impossible debut became an international phenomenon, embraced and censored in equal measure. For Tarantino, it was validation that his brand of storytelling could cross borders, inspire copycats, and still remain uniquely his. Few debuts have left such a chaotic global footprint. It started as a disaster, but somehow that disaster became a classic. From mortuaries to fights, from bad blood to banned games, Reservoir Dogs was chaos stitched together with raw vision. If you're into strange movie secrets and weird Hollywood history, stick around, because we're just getting started.